Good morning, it's Sunday 14th of May 2017. This is Sylvia Shivamurthy and you're listening to the newspaper reviews on www.ardhavaneng.com. Let's now look at the paper highlights from today's newspapers. The top highlight in Sunday Times says, Cabinet reshuffle after PM returns from China. President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe decided on Friday night that the much-talked-of cabinet reshuffle will take place upon the latter's return from China. The meeting came just ahead of the Premier travelling to the airport to board a Singapore-bound flight en route to Beijing. President Sirisena also directed him not to deal with any matters relating to Hambantota Port project with a Chinese firm until a number of outstanding issues are resolved. The Premier had proposed to sign a memorandum of understanding incorporating the different agreements with Chinese authorities. A framework agreement is also on the cards. The cabinet reshuffle turned out to be a sore point in the United National Party Sri Lanka Freedom Party relations. SLFP ministers who met Mr. Sirisena on Monday night were to say they would sit as an independent group. There's another highlight which says, MPs attendance register now open to the public. More than two-thirds of parliamentarians attended sittings on May 3rd, from which date their attendance register was made public. Of the 224 parliamentarians, excluding the Speaker, 173 MPs had attended sittings on the day according to the attendance register. The move to make the MPs' attendance register public was given approval by Parliament. The highlight in the middle says, GSP Plus facility, Lanka's final hurdle tomorrow. If all the paperwork is in order and no other questions pending, the European Commission under the signature of the Trade Commissioner will direct a request to publish the restoring of GSP Plus trade preferences to Sri Lanka. The cut-off date has been set off for May 15. The publication will be in the Journal of the European Union and will enter into force on the day following that of its publication. Usually, the process takes about a month, but a diplomatic initiative by Sri Lanka's EU ambassador, Rodney Pereira, has got underway to expedite the process. Already, Sri Lanka has cleared two hurdles for the restoration of the facility. One was an April 27th European Parliament resolution which sought to deny the facility to Sri Lanka. However, 436 members supported Sri Lanka and only 119 were against. A few days later, 4 members who voted against changed their votes to positive. That meant Sri Lanka won a record 440 votes. According to official statistics, the suspension of the GSP Plus in 2010 had a crippling effect on Sri Lanka's garment industry, causing the closure of about 25 apparel factories and forcing almost 10,000 people out of employment. It resulted in heavy financial losses. Let's now look at the paper highlights in Sunday Observer. The top highlight says, Sri Lanka, China to sign framework agreement. 3 weeks after signing a significant framework agreement with India to cooperate on economic matters, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will oversee a similar agreement with China during his current visit to Beijing. To be signed between the Ministry of Commerce of China and the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade, the agreement initially drafted by the Chinese with revisions from Sri Lanka was approved by the cabinet last week just before the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Sri Lanka and Prime Minister Wickremesinghe's departure to Beijing yesterday, according to the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade Minister Malik Samaravikrama had already signed the Sri Lankan copy and had sent it to the Chinese embassy before his departure to Beijing as per normal diplomatic procedures. Another highlight says, Kabir says Sri Lanka on right track. Minister of Public Enterprise Development Kabir Hashim says that Sri Lanka is on the right track in terms of good governance, international diplomacy and economic prosperity, which is reflected in the European Union's approval of Sri Lanka's Generalized Scheme of Preferences Plus application. The UNP-led government can take enormous credit for this, and as a nation we can look forward to a brighter future. It truly shows how far Sri Lanka has come in recent years and must be seen as an endorsement of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's reforms, Minister of Enterprise Development Kabir Hashim told the Sunday Observer. The highlight in the middle says, PM attends One Belt One Road Summit in China. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Maitri Wickremesinghe left for China to attend One Belt One Road Summit in Beijing from May 14 to 15. Leaders of 30 countries are taking part in the high-level roundtable discussions that will be conducted at the summit. The forum will pay special attention to the benefits that can be derived by countries through Chinese President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road. Premier Wickremesinghe is also expected to meet Chinese leaders, including President Xi Jinping, on sidelines of the summit. And now let's move to the paper highlights in Ceylon today. The top highlight says, Hambantota Port grossly undervalued. The $1.4 billion which was the value that China Merchant Holdings was to pay for the Hambantota Port for an 80% stake of the private-public partnership company has been declared as grossly undervalued by the 9-member cabinet subcommittee appointed by President Maithripala Sirisena, chaired by Minister of Special Assignments Dr. Sarath Amunugama. There's another highlight which says, Modi invites MR to India. No politics discuss, assures MR. The highlight in the middle says, DID Rangajeeva walk into Madhu's trap. That's all for today's newspaper highlights, and we'll get back to you with more news tomorrow. Thank you.